Elon Musk's Boring Company appeared before the city of Las Vegas today, asking it to approve an expansion of the Vegas Loop.
A portion of the loop opened up back in April of 2021. Fox 5's Danny Maston is live in studio with a breakdown of what was discussed at today's meeting.
Yeah, Kim and Jacqueline, we heard from the Boring Company at that meeting today, who says since they opened the Tesla Loop 2 years ago, 1.2 million passengers have gone through the system. Boring is now expanding the Tesla tunnels to more popular destinations across the city of Las Vegas. The Express Underground Transportation System currently connects 3 halls of the Convention Center Resorts World, with ongoing work to create extension to the Encore. The Boring Company is expanding to add a total of 21 stations within the city. Proposed areas include places like Area 15, Palace Station, Symphony Park, El Cortez, and the English Hotel. This will help the company accomplish its plan of creating a 68-mile system. Though all city council members voted to move forward with the expansion, Mayor Carolyn Goodman expressed safety and accessibility concerns. How about the transit system is currently operating?
There aren't exits enough even in the planning. The handicap accommodations aren't there yet either. I think that the cars being battery operated and this not a rail system.
The thought of expanding to other casino resorts within the Strip corridor is amazing. For me, I think it's important to think about how we transport locals.
Now, the city tells me the expansion of the tunnels would be funded and constructed by the Boring Company. Back to you.